Good evening from Sacred Space at Titania's Realm. I'm back to finish off the adventures of Harun Al-Rashid because we ran out of video time on my laptop, so we got cut short. It's not a lot, it's probably only going to be a 10-minute video or so, this one, but I must reach completion. And in the meantime, I've had a bit of soup for dinner, and I'm exhausted. I haven't had a rest, but I've eaten and did some dishes and had a break from my computer. So we're going to go in all refreshed, and the time is 7:21 p.m. on the 9th of January 2025. So here we go, babies. Accordingly, when the woman took the money to her husband and told him of what pledge he had given, he was right willing, and said to her, "Thou hast done well and wisely, in that thou madest this covenant." You can tell that the translator's British with the way, Scottish, I think. The way he throws in little English or Scottish type inflectors into the language. It's actually quite comical and delightful. Then, having bought some twine and mended all the nets, he rose before dawn and hastened riverwards to catch fish according to his custom. But when he cast the net into the stream for the first throw and haled it in, he found that it contained but one fish, and that a full span or so in thickness, which he placed apart as my portion. Then he threw the net again and again, and at each cast he caught many fishes, both small and great, but none reached in size that he first had netted. As soon as he returned home, the fisherman came at once to me and brought the fish he had netted in my name and said, "O our neighbour, my wife promised overnight that thou shouldst have whatever fishes could come to ground at the first net throw." Fishes come to ground. And this fish is the only one I caught. Here it is. Prithee take it as a thanks offering for the kindness of last night and as fulfilment of the promise. If Allah Almighty had vouchsafed to me of fish a seinful, all had been thine, it is thy fate that only this one was landed at the first cast. Said I, the mite I gave thee yesternight was not of such value that I should look for somewhat in return, and refused to accept it. But after much say and said, he would not take back the fish, and he insisted that it was mine. Wherefore I agreed to keep it and give it to my wife, saying, "O woman, this fish is a return for the mite I gave last night to the fisherman, our neighbour. Saad hath declared that by means of..." So every time I hear that I crack up. Oh dear, it's so silly, isn't it? How you can just conflate something with a memory. Anyway, let me just take a deep breath. Saad hath declared that by means of that coin I shall attain to much riches and abundant opulence. Then I recounted to my wife how my two friends had visited me, and what they said and did, and all concerning the leaden coin which Saad had given to me. Here I go again. Oh dear goodness. Anyway, you gotta laugh. Honestly. She wondered at seeing but a single fish. Oh, stop it, Tanya. And said, how shall I cook it? Meseemeth 'twere best to cut it up and broil it for the children, especially as we have naught of spices and condiments wherewith to dress it otherwise. Then, as she sliced and cleaned the fish, she found within its belly a large diamond, which she supposed to be a bit of glass or crystal, for she oft had heard tell of diamonds, but never with her own eyes had she beheld one. So she gave it to the youngest of the children for a plaything, and when the others saw it, by reason of its brightness and brilliancy, all desired to have it, and each kept it in turn a while. Moreover, when night came, and the lamp was lighted, they crowded round the stone, and gazed upon its beauty, and screamed and shouted with delight. When my wife had spread the table, and we sat down to supper, and the eldest boy set the diamond upon the tray, and as soon as we all had finished eating, the children fought and scrambled as before for it. At first I paid no heed to their noise and hubbub, but when it waxed exceeding loud and irksome, I asked my eldest lad the cause why they quarrelled and made such turmoil. Quoth he, "The trouble and dispute are about a piece of glass which giveth forth a light as bright as the lamp." Whereat I told him to produce it, and marvelled greatly to see its sparkling water, and inquired of my wife whence she had gotten the piece of crystal. Quoth she, "This I found within the belly of the fish, as I was gutting it." Still I did not suppose it to be aught but glass. Presently I bade my wife hide the lamp behind the hearth. And when my wife had hidden the lamp from view, such was the brightness of the diamond that we could see right well without other light. Wherefore I placed it upon the hearth that we might work by it, and said within myself, "The coin that Sard left with me hath produced this benefit, that we no longer stand in need of a lamp, at least it saveth us oil." When the youngsters saw me put out the lamp and use the glass in its stead, they jumped and danced for joy, and screamed and shouted with glee, so that all the neighbours round about could hear them when I chid them, and sent them to bed. We also went to rest, and right soon fell asleep. Next day I woke betimes, and went on with my work, and thought not of the piece of glass. Now there dwelt hard by us a wealthy Jew, a jeweller who bought and sold all kinds of precious stones, and as he and his wife essayed to sleep that night, by reason of the noise and clamour of the children, they were disturbed for many hours, and slumber visited not their eyes. And when morn appeared, the jeweller's wife came to our house, and made complaint, both for herself and her husband, anent the hubbub and shouting. Ere she could say a word of blame, my wife, guessing the intent wherewith she came, addressed her, saying, "O Rahil, I fear me that my children pestered thee last night with their laughing and crying. I crave thine indulgence in this matter. Well, thou must wot how children now cry, now laugh at trifles. Come in and see the cause of all their excitement, wherefore thou wouldst justly call me to account." She did accordingly, and saw the bit of glass about which the youngsters had made such din and uproar, and when she, who had long experience of all manner precious stones, beheld the diamond, she was filled with wonderment. My wife then told her how she had found it in the fish's belly, whereupon quoth the Jewess, "This bit of glass is more excellent than all other sorts of glass. I too have such an one as this which I am wont to wear sometimes. And wouldst thou sell it? Will buy this thing of thee. Hearing her words, the children began to cry, and said, O mother dear, and thou wilt not sell it, we promise henceforth to make no noise. Understanding that they would by no means part with it, the women held their peace, and presently the Jewess fared forth, but ere she took her leave, she whispered my wife, See that thou tell the matter to none, and if thou have a mind to sell it, at once send me word. Now the Jew was sitting in his shop, when his wife went to him and told him of the bit of glass. Quoth he, Go straightway back and offer a price for it, saying that 'tis for me. Begin with some small bidding, then raise the sum until thou get it. The Jewess thereupon returned to my house and offered 20 ashrafis, which my wife deemed a large sum to give for such a trifle. However, she would not close the bargain. At that moment I happened to leave my work, and coming home to our noon meal, saw the two women talking on the threshold, and my wife stopped me, saying, This neighbour biddeth 20 ashrafis to price for the piece of glass, but I have as yet given her no reply. What sayest thou? When I bethought me of what Saad had told me, to wit, that much wealth would come to me by virtue of his leaden coin, the Jewess, seeing how I hesitated, bethought her that I would not consent to the price. So quoth she, O neighbour, and thou wilt not agree to part with the bit of glass for 20 pieces of gold? I will e'en give thee 50. Hereat I reflected that whereas the Jewess raised her offer so readily from 20 golden pieces to 50, this glass must surely be of great value. So I kept silence and answered her not a word. Then noting that I still held my peace, she cried, Take then 100, this be its full value. Nay, I know not in very deed if my husband will consent to so high a price. Said I in reply, O my good woman, why talk so foolishly? I will not sell it for aught less than 100,000 gold coins, and thou mayest take it at that price, but only because thou art neighbour to us. The Jewess raised her offer coin by coin to 50,000 ashrafis, and said, I pray thee wait till morning, and sell it not till then, so that my man may come round and see it. Right willingly, quoth I, by all manner of means, let thy husband drop in and inspect it. Next day, the Jew came to my house, and I drew forth and showed to him the diamond which shone and glittered in my palm with light as bright as any lamps. Presently, assured that all which my wife had told him of its water and lustre was strictly true, he took it in hand and, examining it and turning it about, marvelled with mighty marvel at its beauty, saying, My wife made offer of 50,000 gold pieces. See now, I will give thee yet another 20,000. Said I, Thy wife hath surely named to thee what sum I fixed to wit, 100,000 ashrafis, and not less. I shall not abate one jot or tittle of this price. The Jew did all he could to buy it for a lesser sum, but I answered only, It mattereth naught, and thou desire not to come to my terms. I must needs sell it to some other jeweller. At length he consented and weighed me out 2,000 gold pieces by way of earnest money, saying, "Tomorrow I will bring the amount of my offer and carry off my diamond." To this I gave assent, and so on the day following he came to me and weighed out the full sum of 100,000 ashrafis, which he had raised among his friends and partners in business. Then I gave him the diamond which had brought me such exceeding wealth, and offered thanks to him and praises unto Almighty Allah for this great good fortune gotten unawares, and much I hope soon to see my two friends, Saad and Saadi, and to thank them likewise. So first I set my house in order, and I almost got through that without laughing, and gave spending money to my wife for home necessaries and for clothing herself and children. Moreover, I also bought me a fine mansion and furnished it with the best. Then said I to my wife, who thought of nothing save rich clothes and high diet and a life of ease and enjoyment, "It behoveth us not to give up this our craft. We must needs put by some coin and carry on the business." Accordingly I went to all the rope makers of the city, and buying with much money several manufactories, put them to work, and over each establishment I set an overseer, an intelligent man and a trustworthy, so that there is not now throughout Baghdad city a single ward or quarter that hath not walks and workshops of mine for rope making. Nay, further I have in each town and every district of Al-Iraq warehouses, all under charge of honest supervisors, and thus it is that I have amassed such a mushel of wealth. Lastly, for my own especial place of business, I bought another house, a ruined place with a sufficiency of land adjoining, and pulling down the old shell, I edified in lieu thereof, the new and spacious edifice, which thy highness hath deigned yesterday to look upon. Here all my workmen are lodged, and here also are kept my office books and accounts, and besides my warehouse, it containeth apartments fitted with furniture in simple style, all sufficient for myself and my family. Here's the jeweler consenting to buy the diamond and weigh out all the coins. What was it? 200,000. So 2,000 gold pieces. After some time, I quitted my old home wherein Saad and Saadi had seen me working, and went and lived in the new mansion. And not long after this removal, my two friends and benefactors bethought them that they would come and visit me. They marvelled much when, entering my old workshop, they found me not, and they asked the neighbours, "Where dwelleth such and such, a rope maker? Is he alive or dead?" Quoth the folk, "He now is a rich merchant, and men no longer call him simply Hassan, but entitle him Master Hassan the rope maker. He hath built him a splendid building, and he dwelleth in such and such a quarter." Whereupon the two familiars set forth in search of me, and they rejoiced at the good report, albeit Saadi would by no means be convinced that all my wealth had sprung, as Saad contended, from its root, that small leaden coin. Presently, conning the matter over in his mind, he said to his comrade, "It delighteth me much to hear of all this good fortune which hath betided Hassan. Despite that, he twice deceived me, and took from me 400 gold pieces, whereby he hath gotten to himself these riches, for it is absurd to think that it hath come from the leaden coin thou gavest him. Withal, I do forgive him, and owe him no grudge. Replied the other, Thou art mistaken. I know Hassan of old to be a good man and true. He would not delude thee, and what he told us is simple sooth. I am persuaded in my mind that he hath won all his wealth and opulence by the leaden coin. However, we shall hear anon what he may have to say. Conversing thus, they came into the street wherein I now dwell, and, seeing a large and magnificent mansion, and a new maid, they guessed it was mine. So they knocked, and on the porter opening, Sa'di marvelled to see such grandeur, and so many folk sitting within, and feared lest haply they had unwittingly entered the house of some emir. Then, plucking courage, he inquired of the porter, Is this the dwelling place of Khwaja Hassan al-Habal? The porter made reply, This is verily the house of Khwaja Hassan al-Habal. He is within, and he sitteth in his office. I pray thee enter, and one of the slaves will make known thy coming to him. Hereupon the two friends walked in, and as soon as I saw them I recognized them, and rising up to them I ran and kissed the hems of their garments. They would fain have fallen on my neck and embraced me, but with meekness of mind I did not suffer them to do, and presently I led them into a large and spacious saloon, and bade them sit upon the highmost seats of honour. They would have constrained me to take the best place, but I exclaimed, O my lords, I am on no wise better than the poor rope-maker Hassan, who, not unmindful of your worth and goodness, ever prayeth for your welfare, and who deserveth not to sit in higher stead than you. Then they took seat, and I opposite them, when quoth Sa'di, My heart rejoiceth with exceeding joy to see thee in this condition, for that Allah hath given thee all even as thou wishedst. I doubt not thou hast gotten all this abundance and opulence by means of the 400 gold pieces which I gave to thee, but say me truly wherefore didst thou twice deceive me and bespeak me falsely? Sa'd listened to these words with silent indignation, and ere I could make reply, he broke out, saying, O Sa'di, how often have I assured thee that all which Hassan said aforetime anent the losing of the Ashrafis is very sooth and no leasing? Then they began to dispute each with other, when I, recovering from my surprise, exclaimed, O my lords, of what avail is this contention? Be not at variance, I beseech you on my account. All that hath befallen me I made known to you, and whether ye believe my words, or ye believe them not, it mattereth but little. Now hearken to the whole truth of my tale. Then I made known to them the story of the piece of lead which I had given to the fisherman, and of the diamond found in the fish's belly. Brief, I told them every whit, even as I have now related to thy highness. On hearing all my adventure, Sa'di said, O Khwaja Hassan, it seemeth to me passing strange that so great a diamond should be found in the belly of a fish, and I deem it a thing impossible that a kite should fly off with thy turband, or that thy wife should give away the jar of bran in exchange for fuller's earth. Thou sayest the tale is true, still can I not give credit to thy words, for I know full well that the 400 gold pieces have gotten thee all this wealth. But when they twain rose up to take their leave, I also arose and said, O my lords, ye have shown favour to me, in that ye have thus deigned visit me in my poor home. I beseech you now to taste of my food, and to tarry here this night under your servant's roof, as tomorrow I would fain take you by the way of the river to a country house, which I have lately bought. Hereto they consented with some objections, and I, after giving orders for the evening meal, showed them about the house, and displayed the furniture, and entertained them with pleasing words and pleasant converse, till a slave came and announced that supper was served. So I led them to the saloon, wherein were ranged trays loaded with many kinds of meats, and on all sides stood camphorated wax candles, and before the table were gathered musicians, singing and playing on various instruments of mirth and merriment, whilst in the upper part of the saloon men and women were dancing and making much diversion. When we had supped, we went to bed, and rising early we prayed the dawn prayer, and presently embarked on a large and well-appointed boat, and the rowers rowing with a flowing tide soon landed us at my country seat. Then we strolled in a body around the grounds, and entered the house, when I showed them our new buildings, and displayed to them all that appertained thereto, and hereat they marvelled with great marvel. Thence we repaired to the garden, and saw, planted in rows along the walks, fruit trees of all kinds, with ripe fruit bowed down, and watered with water from the river by means of brickwork channels. All round were flowering shrubs, whose perfume gladdened the zephyr. Here and there fountains and jets of water shot high in air, and sweet-voiced birds made melody amid the leafy branches, hymning the One, the Eternal. In short, the sights and scents on every side filled the soul with joy and gladness. My two friends walked about in joyance and delight, and thanked me again and again for bringing them to so lovely a sight, and said, Almighty Allah, prosper thee in house and garth. At last I led them to the foot of a tall tree, near to one of the garden walls, and shewed them a little summer house, wherein I was wont to take rest and refreshment, and the room was furnished with cushions and divans and pillows, purfled with virgin gold. Now, so it happened that, as we sat at rest within that summer house, two sons of mine, whom I had sent together with their governor to my country place for change of water and air, were roaming about the garden seeking birds' nests. Presently they came across a big one upon the topmost boughs, and tried to swarm up the trunk and carry it off, but by reason of their lack of strength and little practice, they durst not venture so high, whereupon they bade a slave boy who ever attended on them climb the tree. He did their bidding, but when looking into the nest, he was amazed with exceeding amazement to see it mainly made of an old turband. So he brought down the stuff and handed it to the lads. My eldest son took it from his hands and carried it to the arbour for me to see, and set it at my feet, saying in high glee, "O my father, look here, this nest is made of cloth." Saad and Saadi wondered with all wonderment at the sight, and the marvel grew the greater when I, after considering it closely, recognized it for the very turband whereupon the kite had swooped, and which had been borne off by the bird. Then quoth I to my two friends, Examine well this turband, and certify yourselves that it is the self-same one worn upon my head when ye first honoured me with your presence. Quoth Sa'ad, I know it not. And quoth Sa'di, and thou find within it the 190 gold pieces, then shalt thou be assured that it is thy turband, in very sooth. I said, O my lord, this is, well, I wot, that very turband. And as I held it in my hand, I found it heavy of weight, and opening out the folds, felt somewhat tied up in one of the corners of the cloth. So I unrolled the swathes, when lo and behold, I came upon the purse of gold pieces. Hereat, shewing it to Sa'di, I cried, Canst thou not recognize this purse? And he replied, 'Tis in truth the very purse of Ashrafis which I gave thee when first we met. Then I opened the mouth, and pouring out the gold in one heap upon the carpet, bade him count his money, and he turned it over coin by coin, and made the sum there of 190 Ashrafis. Hereat, waxing sore ashamed and confounded, he exclaimed, Now do I believe thy words. Nevertheless must thou admit that thou hast earned one half of this by prodigious wealth, with the 200 gold pieces I gave thee after our second visit, and the other half by means of the mite thou gottest from Sa'ad. To this I made no answer, but my friends ceased not to dispute upon the matter. We then sat down to meat and drink, and when we had eaten our sufficiency, I and my two friends went to sleep in the cool arbour, after which, when the sun was well nigh set, we mounted and rode off to Baghdad, leaving the servants to follow. However, arriving at the city, we found all the shops shut, and nowhere could we get grain and forage for the horses, and I sent off 2 slave boys who had run alongside of us, to search for provender. One of them found a jar of bran in the shop of a corn dealer, and, paying for the provision, bought it together with the jar, under promise that on the morrow he would carry back the vessel. Then he began to take out the bran by handfuls in the dark, and set it before the horses. So as the slave boy took out the bran by handfuls, and set it before the horses, suddenly his hand came upon a piece of cloth, wherein was somewhat heavy. He brought it to me even as he found it, and said, See, is not this cloth the very one of whose loss thou hast oft-times spoken to us? I took it, and wondering with great wonder, knew it was the self-same piece of stuff, wherein I had tied up the 180 Ashrafis, before hiding them in the jar of bran. Then said I to my friends, O my lords, it hath pleased Almighty Allah, ere we parted, I and you, to bear me witness of my words, and to establish that I told you naught save whatso was very sooth. And I resumed, addressing Sa'di, See here the other sum of money, that is, the 190 Ashrafis which thou gavest me, and which I tied up in this very piece of cloth I now recognize. Then I sent for the earthen jar, that they might see it, and also bade carry it to my wife, that she also might bear witness, and it be or be not the very bran jar which she gave in exchange for fuller's earth. Anon she sent us word and said, Yea, verily, I know it well. 'Tis the same jar which I had filled with bran. Accordingly, Sa'di owned that he was wrong, and said to Saad, Now I know that thou speakest truth, and am convinced that wealth cometh not by wealth, but only by the grace of Almighty Allah doth a poor man become a rich man. And he begged pardon for his mistrust and unbelief. We accepted his excuses, whereupon we retired to rest, and early on the morrow my two friends bade me adieu and journeyed homewards with full persuasion that I had done no wrong and had not squandered the monies they had given me. Now when the Caliph Harun Al-Rashid had heard the story of Khwaja Hassan to the end, he said, I have known thee of old by fair report of thee from the folk who, one and all, declare that thou art a good man and true. Moreover, the self-same diamond whereby thou hast attained to so great riches is now in my treasury. So I would fain send for Sa'di forthright, that he may see it with his own eyes, and weet for certain that not by means of money do men become or rich or poor. The Prince of True Believers said moreover to Khwaja Hassan al-Habal, Go now and tell thy tale to my treasurer, that he may take it down in writing for an everlasting memorial, and to place the writ in the treasury together with the diamond. Then the Caliph with a nod dismissed Khwaja Hassan. They spelt that differently. Khwaja Hassan. And Sidi Nu'man and Baba Abdullah also kissed the foot of the throne and departed. So when Queen Scheherazade had made an end of relating this history, she was about to begin the story of Ali Baba and the 40 Thieves, but King Shahryar prevented her, saying, O Scheherazade, I am well pleased with this thy tale, but now the dawn appeareth, and the chanticleer of morn, that's a rooster, doth sound his shrill clarion. This day also I spare thy life to the intent that I may listen at my ease to this new history of thine at the end of the coming night. Hereupon the three took their rest until the fittest time drew near. And the next story is indeed Ali Baba and the 40 Thieves. So, yes, we knocked that one out of the ballpark, people of Earth. And we've completed the story, and I was wrong. It wasn't 10 minutes, it was 38 minutes. So there you go. Quite a bit of intense, energetic output, reading and finishing the story. So bye for now. Have a beautiful evening wherever you are now in the space-time continuum. Here it's 7:59 p.m. in Brisbane, Australia. And it's dark now, and I'm going to go and have a rest on my couch and a cup of tea and maybe watch some nice movie or something on Netflix. I deserve a bit of a treat. So take good care, be of good cheer. Bye for now.